I think, and that was for me one of the gifts of being here at Asbury was, at least within the group that I was part of, this expectation of praxis, that this is what we're hearing in the classroom. What does that mean in our shared life together when we're not in the classroom? What does that mean for us as we're being formed as those seeking to follow the way of Christ in the power of the Holy Spirit, and engage in mission with folk who are not part of that story yet? And there was this beautiful praxis where we would be doing this and saying, okay, what does that mean for this? And then we'll be here, okay, how does this, what is that, the implications of that for this? But I think that was because we really wanted to do that. It was not required by the seminary, it was not required by the whatever denomination some of us were part of.
It should be. It should be required.
And so speak more about that in terms of the seedbed, the seminary.
Yeah, I think, these opportunities, the great gift that people are coming, they're giving their lives and saying, I've got 3-4 years here for me, shape me. And, I think it's holy ground. This is like, these are people's lives here we're talking about, and their dreams and their futures and their families. Everything's tied up with this stuff, right? To prepare them for challenges of ministry in the 21st century really has to be, we can't simply, I say a whole lot of Calvinists, I say, you really think Hodge has got your answers for you? Really? Hodge and Warfield and all those guys? I think, really? You say that the answer's there, go back to Geneva? Now Calvin had all the answers. I'm saying, look, one of our biggest problems we face is that by simply taking a formula or an idea that was well articulated in the past and was successful, and applying it in the increasingly complex environment that we call the 21st century, and expecting it to have the same result, it's just immense insanity. It's called organizational insanity. Doing the same thing better and expecting fundamentally or significantly different results. It just doesn't work, right? The other danger in that, of course, one of the best books I read last year was a book by a guy called Joshua Cooper Ramo called The Age of the Unthinkable. It says we're entering into a revolutionary age when things are all kind of unstable. I mean, geopolitically, everything. Economy, that's just, huge. We could, I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm thinking we're teetering every day on some sort of disaster, right? But this applies right across the spectrum. Not only, politics, economics, just every area of human endeavor is very poised at the moment. The whole global thing has changed the game. The whole Arab Spring thing is, this is like, who knows where it's going to go, right? And if you take ideas in the case of democracy, for Americans, democracy was formed in the 18th and 19th centuries. It was somewhat romanticized, perfectly designed for that time, right? It was the idea of ideas, right?
And that culture.
That's right. So the paradigm or the idea of democracy and liberty and all that stuff there that was formed in that era, simply taking that and trying to apply it into the increasingly complex revolutionary environment of the 21st century, it's disastrous. You create more problems than you will resolve, and Iraq has shown us that. After bankrupting the States, $1 trillion plus that we've spent on it, millions of dollars, lives lost. And really, the thing is, they're probably more unstable than it was 10, 15 years ago. And there's a good example of it. But you can say the same on economics. All our free market economy stuff, all the stuff that we took as kind of gospel, actually brought us to this moment of actually fatal flaw where our currency almost, our medium of exchange almost collapsed. When a medium of exchange collapses, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
Inflation goes to about 5,000-6,000% even over a day. There's no meaning of exchange. Your money means nothing.
Right.
We got so close to that in 2007. I was trained in economics. We got very, very close to a currency collapse. That's why they're all panicking. I think we're still hovering close to that thing. All I'm saying is that you can't simply be naive anymore. You have to, in revolutionary eras, you have to think like a revolutionary or you become history. We have to be inventive, take risks, experiment, try things out. And you're going to fail in some ways. That's all right. Failure's all right. It's part of nature's way of teaching us things. You wouldn't have learned to walk or talk without failing. So we just have to get out of our risk aversion. This is where that whole faithful leap thing comes in. You've got to go on a journey. and enjoy it.
Right.
It's actually part of the faith, actually.
Right. And I think that is, for me, I think one of the biggest challenges the more institutionalized forms of Christianity face is that you're always being asked to prove yourself and to justify your continued ministry as a pastor or whatever. And the very things that we measure that by often may not be helpful.
No.
And in order for us to take the kind of risks and allow people to fail on the way so that we learn together, I think the question is, are we willing to do that? And I suspect the answer is no.
No, I think a lot of people, but I think if the answer is genuinely no, then I think, okay, live with it. Then Europe is your future. America's a little different. I mean, Americans are more spiritual, religiously inclined, wired. The sensibilities, definitely, their angels exist, for everyone, Europe is different, but still the logic of Western civilization is Europe. And if you look in America, you look on where the most Europeanized areas are, Eastern Seaboard, Western Seaboard. And look at the most secular areas, Eastern Seaboard, Western Seaboard. Now, of course, the big population centers like Chicago, etc., etc. That's where all the problems are. So here's the thing: it's like that's the future, unless we find ways to engage it, using what we've got now to engage it. This is the challenge. Yeah. We have immense amount of resources, and again, the people are our most profound resource. I know you believe that. Yeah. And it's all there. If God can do it through a group of weirdos like the early church, and through Chinese peasants, and people who populated
and Welsh miners.
Welsh miners, and go back to the story of the early Methodists. These were lay people, black slaves, women, disempowered people. These are the heroes that built the thing. If they can do it, we can do it again. And I'm saying all the resources are there. We just have to be willing to release it and stop controlling God's people. Jesus is well able to guide his church and to build his church if you will let him do so.
Well, thanks very much, Alan, for spending some time talking to the good folk at Seedbed, and hope that look forward to seeing what comes out of this.
Thanks, Brian. Thank you very much.